Isolation, day 37, Friday the 24th of April. I hope you're all doing well and you're looking after yourselves. It's been a beautiful day. I thought we should start by looking at the Medtronic CareLink download of my day's blood sugars. I did put the CGM on quite late on in the day. What I've got is a number of reports that will combine the two. Again, I didn't have a particularly good day. Let's check it out. This is the first page of 8 pages that the Medtronic CareLink system will allow me to download, and I just am looking at Friday the 24th of April, as you can see here. And as mentioned before, I've got blood glucose readings 9 and I've got sensor duration 7 hours 30. So for much of the day I didn't have a CGM on, and for the other 7 hours and 30 minutes I did have a CGM on. The only other bit of information on here that you need to see is suspend duration was 3 hours. Well, that's not ideal, is it? That pretty much tells you what kind of a day I had. Let's move on to the next page. This page shows you just a sensor overview. So you can see the sensor was started here. It's then gone showed that my blood sugar has reduced, it's increased, it's reduced, it's increased, it's reduced, it's increased. What I did not take account of, perhaps because I didn't have this, I haven't had the CGM on for some time, what I didn't take account of was that when you put the CGM in originally, and certainly with the Enlite sensor, it takes some time to get used to you. So the accuracy of the Enlite sensor is compromised for anything up to 24 hours. Normally it's around about 12 to 18 hours. But I made a bit of a mistake, really. I relied upon the CGM, mainly probably because my fingers are like pincushions at the moment. I relied upon the CGM a little bit too much, and I found that I was correcting, and then when I did take my blood sugar, I found that it was, well, vastly out. For instance, I took it and it was, so the sensor said 5.6, but my blood sugar when I took it was actually 8.6. It's those kind of things that are frustrating when you rely upon a CGM so much. Don't get me wrong, it will get it in order and it will simplify itself, but it wasn't very simple for the end of yesterday. The guidance is that when you put a new sensor in, you shouldn't have any insulin on board, and you shouldn't have eaten for let's say a couple of hours before, because both of those things will affect your blood sugar. So when you calibrate the sensor, so you calibrate it so that it's as close as possible to your actual physical blood sugars, you give it the best opportunity to be as accurate as possible. I failed to do that. The only person I can hold responsible is me, apart from the fact that obviously the sensor itself ideally wouldn't need to be calibrated and wouldn't need to be quite so, and shouldn't be quite so far out. So let's move on to the next. You can see here that my blood in the morning was 2.8, awfully low, but that was because, if you remember, I had a high blood sugar the previous night. I clearly took a bit too much insulin and it went low. Managed to recover to 5.6 at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then at 8 o'clock it was 3.7, so not ideal whatsoever. 5.4 at lunch, 6.5, 3.8, and then I was on the sensor from here. Overall, yes, that's not good. Yes, that's not ideal. Yes, that's not ideal. But the rest of the day is pretty good, to be honest, whilst I didn't have the sensor on. As soon as I had the sensor on, I made the schoolboy error of not really checking my blood sugar enough, correcting in accordance with what the sensor was saying. To see here, average blood glucose 4.6, well, that tells you it's not good enough, is it? It's a little bit too low. Sensor average was 4.9. okay, that's 4.9, not ideal either. Average daily basal 82% and average daily bolus 18%. But let's move on to here. You can see the overview. What would be really useful is an analysis of this is your sensor reading throughout in comparison to your blood glucose reading, because here, as I was saying, this is 4.7. I'm sure the sensor said 7.7 or 6.7. It was a long way off, and that happened later on in the evening as well. But that's pretty much all of the interesting information. The rest of it is just background information, and you've seen all of this above. That's it for my bloods on the day. I'm a bit disappointed, but it is, a day of, and I'm sure lots of people watching this will say, yeah, I go through that a lot. Those that are on the Enlite sensor, I'm sure you would have experienced that the day you move on to the sensor, and the first day is always a little bit testing. It's not straightforward. It's not an easy thing to manage. The reality is, what I should have done is just continue to take my blood sugar with my fingers and made sure that I knew exactly where I was. I didn't do that. That's on me. 2 reminders for tomorrow. The first one is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock Sunday the 26th. I'm having an Instagram live with the Diabetic Athletic, which is Nick, and he is going to be giving me, along with anyone else that wants to listen, advice about keeping your blood sugars in check when you are exercising. So we're going to be talking about aerobic, anaerobic, we're going to be talking about weight training and running, we're going to be talking about carb intake, basal rates, etc. And he is going to be giving us some advice. I'm looking forward to that because I can put it into place. The second thing is, if you're awake at 12 o'clock tomorrow night, I have a Zoom call with, I think there were about 9 of us last week, 8 from the US and me. I think there's going to be over 10, maybe 12, maybe 14 people tomorrow night on a Zoom call, all discussing diabetes and just having a general catch up really. It's called Bolus Maximus. There's the advertisement. So if you're free, please tune in to both preferably, and look after yourselves, okay? Have a good Sunday. Cheers.